If I was starting at 25% body fat, here is exactly what I would do to get down to a lean 11 to 15% body fat range. And here's the first step. I like to think of this like investing. We wouldn't keep putting more and more and more money into something that consistently underperformed and loses money. So in the same way, you also need to avoid repeating the same mistakes that didn't work in the past when it comes to losing body fat. I see many people keep trying the same kind of diets or the same kind of workout methods year after year because it works for a short period of time, and then afterwards they rebound back into their old body shape by gaining more weight. But because it worked for that short period of time, they think, well, I can always just come and do this again in the future, hoping for a better or different result, forgetting that it actually failed because they weren't able to maintain it. You wouldn't keep putting money into an investment that's losing money. And it's these cycles that lead to burning out, getting frustrated, and just wanting to give up on it entirely. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. After working with hundreds of men over the past 10 years, I promise you, every one of them who has done keto has ended up quitting keto. Every one of them who's tried to go vegan has quit vegan, or insert any other diet, shake diets, not eating for 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, living off meal replacement shakes. All of it led to quitting. I've also coached a lot of guys who have done 75 hard who never made it, or they made it and they still were not happy with their results. I've coached a lot of guys who used to work out every single day and they still came to me for help because they couldn't get rid of the belly fat. They weren't seeing the results they're happy with. Another huge problem is going all or nothing whenever life is perfect, but then going all out as soon as life is no longer perfect. This causes those yo-yo cycles and is very frustrating year after year, which ultimately leads to gaining more body fat and less muscle, which is a bad state to be in. Then there's also PT sessions. I'm not saying PT sessions are bad. They can be fantastic. I'm a personal trainer, so I did it for many years and it was fantastic. However, the problem with PT sessions is that the PT is paid upon you returning over and over. So if they solved your problem in one session, they would go out of business, and there wouldn't be enough repeat business to stay in business. So my point is, you're paying for their time. You're not paying for a result. There's no incentive for a PT to get you a result, because if they were to achieve your problem in 2 or 3 sessions, you wouldn't return and they would have to then find somebody else to coach. So again, they're not a long-term solution. And then there's other things like fixed classes that are really hard with busy guys who just can't, attend a fixed schedule on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then they're not getting the attention because there's like 20, 30 people in a class just throwing weights around, doing a bunch of reps, and it's not really productive from a muscle gain or strength point of view. So if you have tried any of these approaches, that's okay. Like, doing something is way better than doing nothing. But if it didn't work for you in the past, then the chances are it's not going to work for you again. This is why it's important to only focus on what you can see yourself doing far into the future. Think 12 months, think 5 years, even 10 years ahead. Is what you're about to do going to be sustainable for that period of time? Because if it's not, that means you're going to stop it, and the results that you got in that process once you stop are going to fall back to the default setting that you began at. But when you pick a long-term solution, you get the bonus of the routine and building habits over and over that will stick with you and will become part of who you are. And then when people say like, wow, you're so disciplined, you train all the time, you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't see it as discipline. It's just what I do. Like, I'm a guy who works out. I go to the gym. For you, it's not discipline. It's just a way of life. That's where you want to get to. But that only happens if you stick to it long term by avoiding the things that didn't work in the past. And then when you eliminate the things that don't work, then you can focus on the thing that has the biggest impact on getting and staying lean long term. Here's the second thing that you need to focus on. So just quickly, if you imagine that you were building a house, well, you wouldn't start with the roof. First, you need to lay a strong foundation, and it is your diet that is that foundation. Because if you don't have a stable foundation or a stable diet, that's not going to last long term. And this is such a common problem because many busy guys will go from eating a seafood diet, they see food and they eat it, to completely overhauling everything. Every meal changes, the times they eat change, the restaurants they go to, they don't no longer go to, the snacks they were having, they cut them out, the treats that they would have enjoy with the wife or the kids, they completely cut that. Like, they overhaul everything and then wonder why it doesn't stick. Because all that just leads to cravings, feeling deprived, and overcomplicating the entire process. So my advice is, don't overhaul everything. Instead, focus on the low-hanging fruit that will make the big impact. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So here are some really common foods that can easily creep into your diet without you realizing and be costing you a lot of calories that you had no idea about. So for example, hidden butters, they're in a lot of foods. They're in often in like mashed potatoes, on vegetables, especially if you're eating out. Butter is used to cook meats, whether it's steak on the grill or fish in the pan or whatever. It's such a common thing that we don't think about when we're eating. And then there's also the hidden oils, same deal. Even a lot of salads contain a lot of oil, which can blow up the calories. Cheeses are also high in fat. A little bit of cheese here and there might seem like nothing, but it could be costing you a couple of 100 calories without you realizing. We also need to look out for hidden sugars, very common in packaged foods or even in beverages. If you don't check the label, you might not realize that you're consuming a lot more sugar than what you thought. Then there is high fat meats. So as delicious as steaks are, they do contain a lot of fat. And even though the protein is great, very easy to blow up the calories from the fat content in meats. Also like salmon, chicken thigh has a bit more fat compared to breast, and whole eggs, the yolk contains a lot of fat compared to the egg white. So we need to be aware of the fat in meats. Then nuts. Nuts can easily be sprinkled into salads like granolas, desserts, cakes, sweets. And I'm not saying they're a bad food, but they just contain a lot of fat for such a small amount of food. It's not very filling, and if anything, snacking on nuts kind of makes us even more hungry, especially the salty ones that are flavored. And then there's stuff like whole milk, which again, I'm not saying milk is bad, but if it's whole milk, it's going to have a high fat content, and that can easily blow up the calories without us realizing. So when you start to notice all these foods, it becomes very easy to just reduce them. I'm not saying to cut out butter, steak, nuts, cheese and never eat it again. I'm saying when you become aware of it, you can reduce the quantities, and very easily, with barely even making much of a fuss about it, if you cut a bit of oil, a little bit of butter, a few less nuts, change whole milk to light milk, you've just saved a couple of 100 calories that you didn't even know you were eating. Every day you wake up with a calorie credit card and you get to spend those calories on whatever food you want to spend them on. But if you overspend, now you've created a debt that needs to be repaid tomorrow. This is why it's so important to track your nutrition data so that you know that you're on track or if you're off track. And this is why every client I work with, we're not just looking at what foods, we're more specifically looking at what is the data saying. Are you actually in a deficit? Are you actually losing body fat? Or is there some hidden foods or something getting in the way that we're not aware of that we can only find if we track the data? A lot of guys don't want to hear this. They want to hear some, magic bullet, superfood, secret supplement thing that takes away any effort and gives them results for nothing in return. And if that's you, I hate to break it to you, that's not how the game works. And if it did, I would be telling you, because I'd be the first person to take all the shortcuts because I'm lazy. I don't like to waste time and energy to look great. I want to do it in the most efficient, least effort, least amount of time to get and stay lean forever. And that's my focus. And data is what has got me there. No other magic or shortcuts. And the good thing is once you lay this strong foundation with data, then you can focus on your daily routine to support this foundation, enhance it, and be burning more fat more consistently over the long term. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the third thing you need to focus on. I like to think of my body and my metabolism like a business. It's the small little daily actions that add up and compound over time that keeps my metabolism healthy, which keeps my energy, my body shape, and everything functioning well above the average decline of what most men are going to be at after 30, 35 and beyond. Just like steady cash flow keeps a business alive and growing, it's these small little movements and activities that we do every single day that can help boost our metabolism to make fat loss consistent long term and also help us to maintain a lean level of body fat. So once we get to 15, 14, 13% body fat, we can stay there because we're maintaining this daily routine. Here's the thing, relying solely on workouts, which is what a lot of men do. They think if I just start working out, I'm gonna lose more fat. That's not always the case because we don't actually burn a lot of calories in a short workout. It's just not significant enough to burn a lot of fat in 30 minutes in the gym. Further to that, building muscle does help elevate our BMR, but not by a massive amount. Like we would have to put on slabs and slabs of muscle to see a massive spike in our BMR. However, there is another thing we can change that is a part of our metabolism that can actually dramatically increase it practically overnight. And I'm going to show you how that works. So what most guys focus on is their EAT, that is their exercise activity thermogenesis. They think if they just go all out here, put all their energy into their workouts, they are going to burn fat like a raging fire and get ripped in no time. However, that is not always the case because we can only burn so much energy in 30 to 45 minutes. And then for the rest of the day, what the hell are we doing? We're not working out for 16 hours a day. But this is where the NEAT comes in to solve the problem and save the day in terms of keeping us in a fat loss state. Because NEAT is all the movement that adds up over the entire day from everything we do that is not deliberate exercise. So taking a shower, brushing our teeth, talking on the phone, typing on the computer, moving our arms around. Anything that is not a deliberate workout, that is your NEAT. And this is really important because if we're not doing much movement and then all of a sudden we can just create an environment where we can start to move around more, then we are going to increase our NEAT across the day and we can burn a lot more than what we would burn in a short workout. And the reality is, if every single hour we just did 5 minutes of walking, that would be a total of 80 minutes across the entire day if we're awake for 16 hours. So my point is here, most people are overrating the workout and they're sleeping on the rest of the day, the other 15 hours of the day, where they could be just gradually compounding and burning more and more calories, just like investing in a long-term investment. We're putting a little bit more in, over time that adds up. And this is how we can elevate our metabolism practically overnight, even if BMR kind of stays the same, because it takes a long time to build muscle. So increasing your daily movement is absolutely key to optimize your metabolic output every day. But if we want to optimize our metabolism and take our body shape to that next level, so we don't end up just looking like skinny fat and slim, we actually want to have a nice shape, round shoulders, some defined pecs and arms with a bit of V-taper, then this is going to come down to your muscle mass. And I'm going to explain what you need to do next. This is the fourth thing you need to focus on. So I treat my muscle mass like a long-term investment, because the more I can build and maintain today means the more I will have in 10, 20, 30 years from now, which increases the quality of my life, my longevity, my hormones, my recovery, my mobility, my agility, pretty much enhances everything that I'm able to do in life by having more muscle. And if we think of anyone who really struggles in the later years, chances are they've got low strength, low muscle, weak joints, weak bones, they're frail, low energy, their brain's not firing. Anyway, you get the idea. And the benefit is the more muscle we build now, the more it supports our BMR, which is like the base of our daily metabolism. So the more muscle we have, the more our BMR will be elevated and will stay elevated above the average decline for men. The problem is most guys just focus on cardio. They put all their effort into cardio, running, cycling, tennis, swimming, whatever it is. There's so many different types of cardio. And they may lose a little bit of body weight, but their shape doesn't change. And they wonder why they get stuck with still having a bit of gut, but skinny legs and arms. And the fact is, if we're not actually training our body correctly, we're not going to build muscle. We're not going to build it from cardio. And cardio is dominant in slow twitch muscle fibers. Whereas we want to be focusing on fast twitch muscle fibers, then we need to be doing the right kind of workouts that are going to increase the size of our muscles, the muscles that we can actually see, because you can be super, super fit and go running for 4 hours straight, but practically look like a skeleton. And this is why when you implement a progressive strength training program where every single workout, every week, every month, you are steadily progressing over time, you will see the results. You will feel the results. Your entire physique will change. Because I remember when I was just a skinny, fat, young guy with a bit of a puffy gut, no muscle definition. I never thought I'd ever be able to see my abs. But by implementing the right program, I was able to completely change my body shape and achieve a level of muscle mass that I never thought was ever going to be possible for me. And I just want to show you why this is so important. So if we want to maintain a healthy metabolism, it ultimately comes down to 4 things that I'm going to explain right here. First thing is the thermic effect of food. So when we eat food, the body is going to burn energy to digest the food, and that means that we may get a slight discount on the food we eat, particularly from protein. We might burn 20 to 30 calories per 100 calories of protein. However, it is a very small effect day to day. And when we eat less food on a diet, we're actually also shrinking our thermic effect of food. Then we've got our exercise activity. So if you're doing, 3 workouts per week for 30 minutes, you may burn 150 calories. It's only 450 calories a week that you're getting from your exercise burn. It's not much at all. It's like one McChicken burger. Then we have our NEAT. This is where the fat loss magic starts to happen, when you've got your nutrition also in sync. So when you increase your daily NEAT, you'll burn more calories and can elevate your entire metabolism pretty much overnight. Because if you do, say, 8,000 steps today, but then tomorrow you did 11,000, well, that's it's 50 calories per 1,000 steps. So that'd be 8 to 9,000, 9 to 10. So you'd have an extra 150 calories added to your metabolism just by doing more steps overnight. So this is the fastest way to increase your metabolism. But then the long-term benefit, which is what I want to talk about here, is your BMR. And this is increased with muscle mass. But the problem is most guys lose fat, they drop body fat, they also drop muscle because all they're doing is cardio. And when we lose a lot of body fat really quick, the body is also going to break down muscle mass and convert that to energy as part of a protection mechanism to a degree. But it's been proven that if we drop body fat quickly and we don't have a reason to maintain muscle, the body will also reduce muscle. And this is not where we want to be. So the optimal outcome is what I call metabolic recomp, is where we drop body fat and we elevate muscle at the same time. This is the best outcome, and it means that your exact body weight might not be as accurate as you think, because if you're gaining more muscle over time and you're dropping more fat, more muscle is going to add weight to your body. However, building muscle takes a very long time. We can drop body fat far quicker than we can gain muscle, unless of course you take some kind of high dose of steroids, which I do not condone and I don't do myself. So as you can see, building muscle is absolutely essential to optimize your BMR and increase that over time, because then when you stack a more optimized BMR on top of an elevated NEAT, your metabolism is going to be functioning way better every single day. But I also need to show you a huge mistake that almost everyone, even including myself, spent many years making this mistake. When it comes to building muscle, this is what happens, right? Most people go from doing nothing to then going 10x effort, all out, training as hard as they can, as often as they can, swiping into the gym, trying to, hit the leaderboard for smashing it out of the park. Then what happens is things in life get in the way, and that drops. And then life and business get in the way again. Could be a trip, travel, feeling unwell, an illness, an injury, and it drops down to next to nothing. And then they try to recover it again as soon as they get a bit of a free space or perfect time, and ultimately ends back up to zero again. And this can play out over anywhere from 1 to 6 months being stuck in this cycle, which means that any muscle that was built here is going to fizzle out as soon as you get back to this point of not doing anything, or life's too hard, too busy, can't focus on it, any other of the 1001 excuses that we create to not be a better version of ourselves. However, there is a better way that I'm going to show you right now. See, if everyone just did this, they would get consistent results and they would stick to it, and they'll get better and better and better every time. So instead of doing a 10x effort, just do a 2x effort, which is more than what you're currently doing, and make that consistent. Then you can add 10% more over time. And then when that's going well, add another 10%. When that's going well, add another 10%. When that's going well, add another 10%. And then finally, here you are compared to this guy who's quit, and you're like 50% toward your goal, or even beyond that point, because the more consistent you are, the better your results get over time. So this, when it comes to workouts, this could be as simple as just 1 to 2 workouts, and then 2 to 3. And then instead of adding more workouts, you say, okay, I'll just do 3. And then at this point, I'll increase the time by 5 minutes. And then I'll increase my workout time by 10 minutes. You can see there's so many ways to progress and get results that other people are just completely missing out on because of these just crazy yo-yo patterns. They're just really ultimately getting nowhere when you can be stacking results long term, week after week, month after month, by keeping it simple. But there's still one thing that can get in the way of this and pretty much derail everything we just talked about. And this is the fifth thing that you need to focus on so that you can not only get results, but actually keep them long term. So if we think about working in a neat and tidy, well-organized office, and we compare that to a cluttered office with files everywhere, junk, wrappers, rubbish, chairs that aren't put back in, whiteboards that aren't cleaned off, boxes in the corner, things in the way. If we're working in that environment, it's going to create clutter, and likely our productivity is going to drop and we're not going to perform optimally. But when your environment around you is well organized and it's optimized for your goal, it's going to support you moving forward and taking the right actions again and again to get the results that you want to get to and keep those results. This is a problem because many guys struggle to stay on track with their plan because there's so many things around them that are tempting them, that are distracting them, that are trying to pull them away and influence them away from getting to the goal that they want to get to, which is feeling and looking amazing and maintaining a lean body. There's just so many things these days that do not support that goal that are in our environment. For example, like food temptations. If we have food out on the counter, we can easily reach it, we're going to eat it. If we're going out to eat with people all the time, they're going to order food, we're going to want to order food. If the missus or the kids are always snacking, we're going to grab it. If we always make more food than what we need, or if the kids don't eat their dinner, you may eat the leftovers. Again, it's just all these temptations, and that's just food. Here's what I'm talking about. A lot of clients that I've worked with used to struggle because they were working at a desk all day. They were spending a lot of time on their phone or seated in the car or on the train or on the bus going to work. Then at home, they'll be watching all kinds of different Netflix shows, eating chips or crisps or chocolate while watching those shows. After dinner, eating food they don't need. Then they're also feeling stressed just because of hectic work life, kids looking after everyone, family, people getting sick, demands in the business, whatever it is. And another big one is spending time with people who are not healthy. They do not care about your results and whether you get healthy or not. And then when you do, they will try to pull you back and slow you down. And I hate to say this, but it's true. The fact is, if we spend a lot of time with people who are unhealthy and overweight, then we're going to be the next person who is unhealthy and overweight. Then drinking alcohol too often feeds to staying overweight, and then a lot of takeaway food that's unaccounted for or not tracked. So you can see when you add up this whole environment, the whole environment is engineered to be overweight and be struggling to lose it. So this is why it's important to not just focus on your diet and not just focus on the training, but also look at everything else in your environment. So it might be time to cut back on going out with people who do not care about their health. It might be time to take away snacks and stuff off the kitchen, out of the office, out of sight, out of mind, or put it somewhere where it's not easy to see so that you're not reaching for it and it's not pinging you in your mind to go and have some. And then when you do this and you start tracking your diet, tracking your workouts, and you've made all these little changes in your environment, it all starts to come together. And if you feed your data into an app or any kind of way to track your biofeedback data, you can hold yourself the most accountable, more than what anyone else can hold you accountable, unless of course you hire a professional to start helping you to give you that plan, and you know that they're overseeing it and telling you, hey, go this way, or try this, or let's change this up. Or maybe if you get stuck in a plateau and you don't know why, they're going to tell you exactly why so you can fix it and continue gradually losing body fat over time. And if you don't have a system or a process to follow to start shedding more body fat as soon as this week or in the next few days, I can help you with that in my Business Body Blueprint routine. Tap the link below the video to learn more about that. However, if you want to learn more about my 5 rules that got me lean and have kept me lean for the past 10 years, go watch this video next, where I'll walk you through my 5 top rules that if you apply them will also get you leaner consistently long term, so that you can not only get rid of the fat but keep it off and be stoked with how you look in the mirror every morning that you wake up.